Half of Singapore's workforce is under financial stress, and only 13% say their pay keeps up with inflation. Millennials are feeling it most, with many turning to side jobs and credit to stay afloat. To know more about this, we have Paul Gordon from Aon and Karen Ng from Deel. Welcome, Paul and Karen. Let's begin with the cause. What's driving the growing financial stress among Singapore's workforce?
Only 13% of Singapore workers feel their wages are keeping up with the cost of living. This creates, of course, for us, fundamental sense of financial insecurity, regardless of industry or salary level. Wage freezes are heightening, and as per Deel research as well, we showed more that 60% of businesses are looking to freeze wage due to the impact of global tariffs. With that in mind, there's a widespread financial fragility, so global economic winds remain unsolved and Singaporeans are feeling the squeeze. As per the report, 50% report just getting by or struggling, and 42% say they're unable to sustain 3 months without income. To make ends meet, workers are cutting back on discretionary spending. 55% of them cited this, and taking on part-time or freelance job, 41%, as you have mentioned.
There's a lot of financial stress globally, he says, and particularly around workers. Workers are concerned about their jobs with the evolution of technology. They're also, we're finding they're not building up that emergency fund like generations in the past. So there's a concern that there won't be enough money if something happens where they need to be to dip into savings. So I think the link between a lack of resilience and financial preparedness is what's really causing Singaporeans to feel quite financially stressed. But they're not on their own, because globally we're seeing the same trends with inflation figures, just the general cost of housing, and the household budget has caused people to be stressed in a fairly flat pay market as well.
But just as you've both mentioned, you can see this across all generations and even globally. But why are millennials feeling the hardest hit compared to other age groups?
Millennials are facing a perfect storm of financial pressures in Singapore, sandwich pressures, as we call it in the report. Many millennials in Singapore are holding dual financial responsibilities because of the age. So they are themselves parents and, of course, have aging parents to support. So that caused them to be sandwiched in between. Financial resilience is thin in Singapore, and they're more vulnerable given their stage of life.
Well, millennials are 29 to 44 years of age. So that's a very tough time, because what happens with millennials at those ages is they gather more assets, whether that be a bigger job, a partner, children, working longer hours. Millennials are very much under pressure. And if you think about it, housing is probably the starting point, whether it's renting, and rent in Singapore is high, whether it's getting a deposit to buy somewhere is a challenge. But also the fact that millennials, as I said before, have a fear that they may not have the income in the future that they've got now because of the change in the job scene.
So in order to better support financial well-being, how can employers step in?
First is that they want their employer to support their overall well-being. And of course, if you're financially stressed, that impacts all your well-being. They want support around elder care and childcare, which is understandable. They want support about saving for their retirement. They generally want support in relation to education and things like that. So there's a lot of hints in that report. So I think employers can start with listening to employees about what their needs are, but also we're finding that employers are reviewing their benefits to make sure they're relevant and that they've got a financial value to the employee. Benefits like insurances, the quality of the pension funds, the medical plans, but also on the other side of the coin, crisis benefits. And crisis benefits are things like debt management and emergency loans and things like that are becoming more prominent as people are struggling.
Our PD research shows workers want flexibility, right? So flexibility in terms of designing their compensation packages, but as well as flexibility in their payroll. So 20% cited, right, that earned wage access would be helping them. So on the short term, at least, and an overwhelming majority, 83%, find the idea beneficial and would consider using it offered by the employer. On top of it, they are also looking at employers helping them in financial planning.
How about Singapore as a whole? How can we improve the link between research institutions and industry?
We need to be teaching kids about money earlier and to understand and survey what's happening with younger people between ages 15 to 18 around their financial knowledge, because that survey has just been done in the UK and it showed that there was a real dip in financial knowledge. So it's not being passed on to younger people. So they go into the workforce unprepared in some cases. So I think it's the job of all those, the parents, academia, the employer, to help improve the knowledge. The other thing I think is to understand, and this is a broader comment, to understand that people learn differently about finance. Money is a taboo topic for many people. So it's not the sort of topic that they may wish to learn about in a group. They may need to understand it on their own, but they also have different money behaviors. Some people are very good with money naturally, and others struggle with the concept and love spending it. So I think it's understanding that concept as we take people through into the workforce.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Paul and Karen.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you for having us.
Once again, those were Paul Gordon, Head of Financial Wellbeing at Aon, and Karen Ng, Country Leader for Asia at Deel. For more news, visit sbr.com.sg.